Welcome to Conducting Parkinson's Conversations. In this episode, my guest is guitarist Fabio Dwyer, a man whose journey with early onset Parkinson's disease has been defined by resilience and the pursuit of new possibilities. Following his diagnosis, Fabio chose to undergo deep brain stimulation, DBS, a procedure that has fundamentally changed his daily life. Fabio is here to share the reality of living with Parkinson's, the decision-making process behind DBS, and what life looks like on the other side of the procedure. It's so wonderful to have this opportunity to connect with you and to hear your story and to learn so much from your experience.
Yes, there's quite a journey for me to tell you. A lot of adventures related to music and Parkinson's.
Well, yeah. So you were diagnosed with early onset Parkinson. How old were you?
I was 41, now I'm 50, so it's 9 years, 8.5 years.
And what were the first signs that there was something going on?
Well, the first noticeable signs I noticed, I was walking the street one day and my arm wasn't swinging. I couldn't move my arm. And then also playing a show, the guitar pick started to flip around my finger. I started to lose the tactile sensation, the grip from the pick, and also my arm started to drag. I started to like pull the whole band down. And my wife is a drummer, a professional drummer. She was my boss back then, the band leader, and she was giving me these dirty looks. No, I wasn't like really noticing the beginning. She said, "You're slowing down the tempo. Come on, pick it up." And
Wow. So,
well,
so were they, did it this come on suddenly or just little by little? I mean,
no, it came little by little. Started
yeah.
to notice that a certain position that I put my hand, my arm started to shake. Like my thumb still is the only part that still shakes after my surgery. If I put here, it shakes a bit, and then I concentrate, I straighten up, and then stop shake because of deep brain stimulation. That I'm gonna get there
Mhm.
in a moment. But actually, there was a bunch of symptoms that I've noticed all that after I got diagnosed with Parkinson, I could put together a lot of things that independently they don't seem like they seem normal. When you put the whole bunch together, bam, that's there. Like things like insomnia my whole life and like was problems sleeping and a little bit of mood swinging and depression. And I started to notice I have a theory that actually I read something recently that kind of confirms that other people feel like that, that some people feel that they had Parkinson their whole lives. Because I read an interview with Ozzy Osbourne's wife, the singer who passed away recently with Parkinson, and she said that they got the conclusion that he had something going on much earlier, like the non-motor symptoms. And I noticed when I was a teenager that the muscles in my face couldn't move very well when I speak. I still have a slurred speech, but that started when I was a teenager, a little bit. The lack of energy, I was always never had any problems with my lungs, but I couldn't run that much because I was always run. Like if you think that Parkinson's is a lack of dopamine, your brain stops producing dopamine, you realize that you have Parkinson's when you lose approximately roughly 70% of the dopamine, then you start with these tremors or some motor symptoms. But I was maybe running with 50% of the dopamine of like half a tank, like a long time before. And that I just put together everything after. But that became very clear for me, especially the speech thing that still bothers me, the slurred speech.
So did other people notice before you noticed these issues, like the motor issues in particular?
No, no, I was the first one. Actually, my wife too, I was fine. It was around the same time. There was one day that I had an episode. I was working like very hard physically in one day. And I had something that my arm and my feet, my foot, my right side started to shake very much, like shake really. And it didn't even look like Parkinson's because it felt like it was a big one episode. And normally Parkinson goes bit by bit, right? So I ran to my doctor, my family doctor, and he said, "Okay, I think you may have been having a stroke." So I ran to the emergency, and the doctor said, "Yeah, we took all the exams. Your brain's fine because Parkinson, you don't have many markers to identify, right?" So he said, "It's funny because you don't. It doesn't look like Parkinson's. I don't think that I have Parkinson's because it doesn't kick like that. But other diseases like multiple sclerosis or ALS that could give you this kind of flare of situation." Is not the case either. So see our neurologist in the beginning of the year. That was in December. In January the 2nd, my first death, as I called, because it was the day of the diagnosis. I felt like dying, really. And the doctor, it was a very great day here in January, early January, winter in Canada, like rainy to make it worse. It was knowing that could be a beautiful day, but that was like raining and cold and miserable. And I get that to start the day. My wife couldn't go with me, and she wouldn't even expect it, or myself. That would be something that's serious. In 5 minutes, the doctor said, just by looking at my face, they call it masked face, he said, "You got Parsons disease." I was completely caught off of guard. I thought that there was something going wrong because of this episode that I went to the hospital, but I could never imagine that would be something to that extent and that would change my life forever.
So you're 41 and you received this diagnosis
Hmm.
and it hit your heart.
Yeah, I had a 1 year old daughter at home. My daughter had just been born. She was 1 year old. Uh, like life changed really hard. And two musicians that normally makes income of one professional of another area in a very expensive city as Toronto. So that was like hell.
So when you received the diagnosis, what was the first um, therapy or what was the first treatment that you went with?
They put me straight on levodopa, carbidopa, but
Okay.
for me it doesn't work at all. For me, it makes me miserable. I get so cranky that if I'm by myself in a room, alone in a room, I leave the room because I can't stand being with the guy. That's me.
Wow.
I can't stand.
How does it hit you, like specifically?
The mood, my mood goes to hell. I become like a cranky, miserable bastard. I become so very
Really?
unbearable. And
And what dose do you remember what your dose was
well,
that you started?
I started with little, and they kept trying. Got to a point that I was taking like 11 pills in a day, and couldn't feel any kind of improvement, motor improvement, and I just didn't work for me. And then I tried the new pro with the patch, which helped a bit, but somehow medications weren't working for me, and it was going fast, it was going aggressively. My right side was compromised to a point that 2 years after the diagnosis, I couldn't play guitar anymore. So I kept like working my left hand. I actually had to relearn how to play guitar left-handed because only my left hand was working.
What was your journey to discovering the deep brain stimulation and making the decision to have that surgery?
Normally, they ask you to do a series of exams. They do the levodopa challenge, which they give you a high dosage of levodopa to see if you're reacting to it. And I didn't think that I would be eligible to have the surgery exactly because it didn't work for me. But they reached the conclusion that it was improving 49%, something like that, in my motor coordination. I couldn't see. I just got cranky again, very cranky.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
you were paying attention to the side effect of the mood
And maybe I
switch,
was playing
but they
more
were looking at the
the vocal.
impact. Interesting.
Uh, and
Now, what was the period of time? I've lost track in terms of just the timetable, the period of time from when you discovered your symptoms
mhm.
and when you were presented with the option of DBS and you went for it. What was that length of time?
It was 3.5 years. Normally, they do with at least 4 years they wait, but they said, okay, you're too young and going down too fast. We want you back. And there's there's some great stories around that. The doctor is a old musician too that had played with me in a band 10 years before. He's a great piano player, great keyboard player. His name is Dr. Alfonso Fazano. He's one of the top DBS specialists in the world. I vaguely knew that he was a doctor back in the band, maybe a neurologist. And the band didn't work at all, so it was an original material band. Following a singer or a sideman both. And then we kept in touch on Facebook or some social media, vaguely in touch. And then he became my doctor. I opened the door. He's a neurologist, a specialist in Parkinson's, and the guy who is going to take care of me probably for the rest of my life because very close in age. He's a great guy, great doctor, very talented piano player. It's a shame that he doesn't have time to practice and because he could be playing any professional band with a little bit more
Wow.
practice. And then from there is another great story. There's some great stories that happen after. Let me just put things more or less in a timeline that makes sense here for you. Uh, I got the surgery done. And then the first day that they switch on the system, about 1.5 months after the surgery, uh, they asked me to do that in a presentation. They asked my authorization to do that in front of 40 doctors from all over the world. It was the end of the pandemic, so they were on big screens, 40 doctors looking, let's see live what's gonna happen. And then they switch on, and then nothing. Nothing happened. I started to feel sick and nauseous. We put the lowest current as possible just so your body start to get used. And then the only thing that I noticed that my thumb, I started to get more control over my thumb, but at least my thumb. And then 3 days after I went there, they asked me to bring a guitar with me to the hospital. And they tried like 10 different combinations. To the ninth, there was still not work. On the last attempt that they did, I just started playing guitar as if nothing had happened, as if I didn't have farts. I had kept like my left hand in shape, so my right hand, of course, was worse, but I just could play like that, like magic, like miracle. It's incredible. And I played for about 10 minutes there. And then I didn't have the nerve to go back home right away because I thought, oh, that lasts for 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, the effect's gonna go away. And then I walked like 3 hours back from the hospital to my home because I was happy because I was walking so well. Again, my foot was not dragging the floor anymore. And yeah, I just went walk. Then I got my guitar at home. I started to play, uh, and then I was playing like for like 8 hours in a row for the first
Because
time.
you had not played at that point, you had not played for years, right?
4 years, the 4 years, basically. I had played, but like decreasing the quality to a point that I couldn't face myself, couldn't hear myself doing that noise. Got a point that my hand was completely out of control. Then I sent to a recording to a friend of mine in London, in England, and I played. And I didn't say anything at this sentence. I said, "Oh, that's an old recording that you found of yourself." I said, "No, no, I just recorded." And the guy was in tears. He's a guitar player too. So he recorded on top of my recording. He overdubbed him jamming because I put just chords and he played the solo on top. And they said, "There you go, our first jam session in 3 years." In 4 years.
Wow.
There is a guitar player in Toronto called Mike Nagoda. He has cerebral palsy and he plays in a crazy technique because he can't play in a normal position, guitar position. So he plays the guitar laying down his lap, and he plays slide guitar with bottleneck. But he plays with two bottlenecks at the same time in his hand. It's extremely hard to do. It's very hard. And as soon as he he heard my story that I was back playing out of the blue. He said, "Okay, I need you in my band." Related to that, yet there was a great story because when I moved to Canada, I was a musician in Brazil for 15 years and a music teacher. I immigrated to Canada to try to expand my career and get better chances. Playing blues and playing jazz, learning more about jazz and stuff. And the first show that I attended to as a crowd, as in the audience, uh, when I first got here, it was the Toronto Jazz Festival. It was a big festival here. I was watching George Benson playing, and I was thinking that back then, 2011, I was thinking, okay, if one day I get to play that stage, it doesn't matter. Uh, if I made money or not, if I became famous or not, even as a side one, if I one day step on that stage, I would pat myself in the back, say, okay, you did what you're here to do it. And then there, of course, was a dream that one of many dreams that I saw going downhill because of Parkinson. And then Mike, the thing, said, okay, but get ready because we're going to get pretty busy because I got an award as a new talent for the Toronto Blues Society. And the first show that we're going to be playing is going to be the Toronto Blues Society party, the thing. And the second show is going to be Toronto Jazz Festival. But damn, I said, Parkinson, I hate you, but thank you. Because that
Wow.
just happened because of Parkinson.
So you have the controller,
Uh-huh.
uh, and have you had to have it replaced since then? This has
Yes,
been
I did my first battery replacement about a year ago
okay.
because
Wow, so the battery lasted a good 5 years.
in mine it was more like 3.5 years because since my person is aggressive, we put a higher uh, voltage there to
Oh,
there's more
interesting.
juice going on than the average, so the battery goes down quicker. And my battery is still not the rechargeable one. You guys there in the US have the rechargeable one. Here, I think that got just approved because Health Canada is a bit slower.
How often do you go in for it to be kind of calibrated?
Every 6 months, more or less.
Every 6 months.
Sometimes 5 months, sometimes six.
Okay.
And I have a little bit of, there's a range there that I can control myself.
Oh, okay.
I can put it up, I just put it up, but I have to be careful because it affects my speech. It makes my speech get slurred. And if I put too much, I don't shake, but have to find that sweet spot where the the hand doesn't shake because the hands are perfect, no shaking at all.
Oh, look at that.
I can play guitar, can have all control of everything. And
It's
but
incredible.
I have another great story related to Dr. Fazano. He said he's very interested in music whenever he has the chance to play a little bit or to connect music and parts, and he does. And he told me, okay, I have another patient that you have to meet. Her name is Martha, Martha Johnson, and she had a very big hit in the late 70s, early 80s, international hit, a song called Echo Beach. She was from a band called Martha and the Muffins. That was huge in Canada and England. And I want to see if you can write something together, the two of us. And the idea that Dr. Fazano had was to make a song related to Parkinson. Actually, his idea was very, very much related to a concept concept that he came up with, that we live in a society that everything's so fast, like the communication, internet, and the lifestyle of people, and that we are losing the capacity of taking time to appreciate life, appreciate big things, to take it slow. That and Parkinson forces us into that. We have to take it slow because that's how fast we can go is slow motion sometimes. So the song that we wrote, it was called Emotion. It's a play for slow emotion, but slow motion too. And the song was released. We got airplay at CBC radio in Canada. We recorded a documentary about the process of writing the song.
Where we wanna be. I'm living in slow motion. I'm moving in slow motion now.
It's always musicians with Parkinson's. The only one without Parkinson was Dr. Fazano playing the keyboard. I played guitar and bass.
Wonderful. You've had the opportunity to talk with many people about your experience with DBS, and I'm sure people reach out to you who are contemplating it. What are some words of advice or wisdom that you share with people when they reach out to you?
Well, first of all, that there is a change. You cannot downplay the big change in your life. You have to accept. There is, of course, that period of first shock, then denial, then depression, then healing, then acceptance. Okay, after you get to give yourself the chance to go to every step, I didn't give to me. I had my life with kids and stuff, right? I had to jump back in life as quick as possible, but give time to yourself to heal. And after that, be open to change, to adjust. You have to adjust your life to the change. That's not our choice. So, since you accepted that, go ahead, roll with the punches, go adjust your life. Every day is going to be like a learning process of how you adjust to limitations, but don't lose faith in life, don't lose hope, because I'm a kind of example of that wild things can happen after. Like you have Parsons, but life's not over. There is so much that can happen yet. New people that you meet. I maybe never would have the chance to meet you, and now I have a new friend, the the Parsons, and that's it. Like keep faith in life, enjoy. You are going to stay here for a long time, so keep going.
Well, thank you so much